So, Borderlands 4 has a lot of possible builds, but I'm a simple person. I've already proven Vex's summons don't need items of any kind to be amazing, but what about our friend Rafa? Sure, he can do some fancy things with gear, but there's a piece yet to be broken. Can you beat Borderlands 4 with only the Peacebreakers? Here's our boy of the hour. Look at him. Doesn't need a dang thing, does he? Now, what do I mean when I say no items? There's the obvious, like guns, shields, class mods, and whatnot, but I do mean rep kits as well. If there's healing to be done, then it's not going to be through a piece of kit that he's clearly holding. Vehicles? Banned. Throwing objects? Banned. There are some things that simply must be done, but you don't need to throw anything, you don't need equipment of any kind, you don't need any form of melee, and you barely need a grappling hook. You do need boxes. Many of them. About 2 hours of farming, opening them for challenges, will get you enough experience to get to level 2 so you can start using your action skill. Easy as, though slow going as all get out. Especially because the devs patched the game and somehow made the performance worse for some folks. Like me. I'm one of those folks. It ran terribly for a good while, so please excuse the visuals if they ain't visualing. It should stabilize later in the run. Now, please ignore the UI bug making the duration disappear, but this is mostly what our piece breaking will look like. Raph will spawn 2 guns mounted on his back that will automatically target enemies in his line of sight. By looking in the general direction of things, they will automatically begin shooting at them. It's a little slow to target sometimes. They also just won't sometimes. And also, they seem to have a sort of internal cooldown resembling a reload depending on which version you're using. You may be wondering, version? Yeah, this is the base. The capstones change them from rapid shots to shotguns, lasers, or rockets. We'll be making use of all of them. For now, though, it was just a matter of learning how to use these. For some context, this is my second time ever playing the game. As of the time of me writing this, I've yet to use any piece of equipment. As of recording this, that is still the case. I've only played these 2 characters, and so I was still learning the complexities of the ability, when it does and doesn't work, how to make it tick. Like, you can end it early to get some cooldown back, but the conversion rate is horrible. And the input delay on holding to refund it is so slow that I didn't think it worked at all at first. The arena here is kinda sizable, but not full of great cover to beat out the 40-second cooldown. The moment it goes down, I have no means of second wins. Doesn't help that I can't activate it while down, so not getting hit for nearly a minute became a pretty big deal. Luckily, the starting fights aren't all that complex, though the geometry can get weird and restrict your movement with invisible barriers, much like, I think, the rest of the franchise. It is very doable. Truth be told, an incredibly common theme, the boss wasn't even the problem, it was the mobs. Staying away from them is hard on account of them being numerous, and it's not like they're slouches in terms of relative damage. It's okay. That's just a thing in most fights. Some of these were rougher than they had any right to be. It is funny in a sense that I have to heal a couple of people. I'm not even allowed to do the same for myself, but anyway. Not like it helped him in the long run. We all end up falling in the end. Much like the frame rate through even cutscenes, for whatever reason. I know another patch has come out since I played, I know more are to come, but how was this one so substantially borked? Anyway, we got into bandit killing, the main course for the humanoid shooting jaunt through a place that isn't Pandora. While I wasn't nearly as in a hurry to get off the planet as apparently the devs were, I will say the non-toxic greens are nice to see. Even if it looks horrible at the moment, because I tried lowering some graphic settings to get a better performance. Didn't work at all, but what can you do? For the record, again, it'll look better later. I reverted some things and made no meaningful changes, but it just worked a bit better. Still got the bug where opening any form of pause menu is either instant or like half a minute of the game freezing. Currently all combat is mandatory, not in the sense that it's the objective, but because if I leave people behind me, I'll find far more rounds in my back than is tankable. That, as a matter of fact, will not improve. At least in part. Keeping going past lethal wounds will be easier, but what constitutes lethal is going to get substantially worse. Better watch out for that level 50 paper cut. It's a doozy. As such, things did look a little bit like this for a while, and sure, throughout the run, but especially at the start. We'll get there eventually. You ever had to prep a boss arena so the locals would mind their damn business while you fought? Because I have, and it's marvelously effective. Means you can mostly just stand back and let the guns work. Do have to worry about some projectiles because health damage is permanent right now, and the boss likes to run for cover a lot, but I'm more dedicated than he is bothersome, so realistically, mobs were a greater hindrance. Say cheese, Splashzone. Or don't, I don't care, as long as you're dead. With 1 health, a dream, and a glide pack, I made my way off. Screw climbing walls, though. Who needs them? Not I, said me, but I did need to punch a door open. Occupational hazard. After helping Claptrap take the place for the Crimson Resistance, it was time. Specifically time to take bounties. Really easy missions to kill common enemies that spawn right next to here, or collect things from killing them. I specifically only accepted collection or patrol missions, because I'm lazy. They randomize when you load in, so save quit farming is alive and well. Gonna need you to keep an open mind though in the next bit, because the game level's with you, so realistically I could hit the level cap and enemies would be more or less just as equipped to deal with me. Kinda strips away the illusion of character progression, thus cheapening one of the main draws of an RPG for some folks, but basically I wanted to have some things that I didn't have. So we were here for a bit. Honestly, could have been even longer. We had to come back here later, and there's some really weird builds that I think would have been solid had I just gone to level cap, but like, part of me is convinced I could hit 100% uptime if I went into the Lance tree of all things, but I never got enough skill points to test that theory. In practice, I got things like longer duration back on crits and kills, faster cooldown, and health while Overdrive is active. Overdrive does a few things, but the big one for me is health. It's active as long as my action skill is, and for a bit after. I also have missiles now. Basically, while yes, that does mean I'm stronger overall, the main goal was just to spend less time waiting between cooldowns, which I achieved by waiting through farming. Try not to question it. It's like making chainmail. It's not about being more efficient, it's about making your brain think it's more efficient, so you feel better while you're doing it. Came all this way to make some new friends. It wasn't far, but something about several hours of farming makes the journey seem that much greater. They gave me a car to work with, but who needs one? Sounds like coward talk. I've got 2 legs that ain't broke, let's give them something to do. Across the entire planet. I know this is deeply into the realm of basically nobody caring, but here's the thing. I care. So we don't need a dang vehicle. Anyway, we made our way into an order compound running lasers. They seem to take a minute to lock on, which I don't love, and their damage leaves a bit to be desired. They need just a touch more investment than I had to give them at the moment, but I swear they are good. Realistically, all of the capstones are good, but have different uses. Kind of a shame that you have to invest so much into just having the ability to swap between them when you'd like. There are a lot of things I'd like to be able to use from the other trees that would cost all of my utility, and yes, I would rather do this little maneuver in ways I don't think at least were intended, rather than use a climbing wall or grappling point. I'm so confident you could easily avoid these with gear. Without, we have to get more creative. Before we'd knew it, we'd fallen into the arena of a dude who, of course, was resistant to half the available damage types we have. And like, yeah, diverse damage types will run you into that often, but I don't think he's corrosive by base. I'm still not sure how that does or doesn't work, but I've only played the game twice. I'll get it eventually. Realistically, he's not hard. He'd be easier if I had healing spec at the moment, but our build changed kind of often to accommodate a lot of different things. At least relative to how often I normally switch things up. Say what you want though, we were getting relatively good uptime. Great for beating his uptime, but that's not what made this so easy, of course. No, it was actually our downtime that was his downfall. The fact that I could sort of just sit out the cooldown meant we could just hang back and wait. Happy to say, Horace is once again easy. Not sure that's how it'll always be, but it was today. Or, you know, when I actually did it. Which I can assure you wasn't today from where you're sitting. You time traveler, you. I think I was at greater risk from the locals. They certainly are a spirited lot. While I came across a roof in need of percussive maintenance, I also made a discovery that would change the shape of the entire run moving forward. There are difficult bosses, sure. There are long and challenging mobbing sections, but nothing compared to this. See, Rafa has an augment that lets me fire giant fireballs. They look cooler than they are. They do a lot less damage than it appears they would, and where they fire is damn near random. I've seen them go off behind me several times, so welcome to how we need to break most breakable objects, and I can't stress enough how painful that's going to be with this game's awful hitboxes included. But it can be done, thus it must be done. Also, there were some turrets or something to deal with. Why hello? Why goodbye? Y'all weren't really needing a scientist, were you? Because I'm gonna need you to give her back. I've got places to be and people that are gonna be really disappointed if we don't have the resident smart person in our group, because in the words of an obscure reference, it ain't gonna be me. I broke into and started clearing out a meat processing facility, which works for me. Steak may be delicious, but meeting is scary. What, am I supposed to just know how social interactions do? I ain't equipped for that in terms of nature or nurture. And this has to be one of the least sanitary required grappling sections. Gross. Also gross were these jumps so sick they should seek a medical service provider. Go on, jumps. Do what I cannot. Doctors are expensive, and so is food. And lodging. Being alive, let's say. While trying to escape, I was tasked with killing basically everything, but I ran into something truly horrifying. While there are a lot of connections to something a little less Borderlands, I was fully expected to kill the man in the wall. And I have no idea who thought this was in my pay grade. I may have some very specific things in common with Rel, but Rel I am not. It's okay though, I'd be getting up to something far less terrifying. Fighting a really big bird that my turrets just refuse to target the grand majority of the time. So that's nice. Mostly just when it's over the outer parts of the arena though, so when it's floating just a touch closer, I can get real damage in. It's not bad either. Hurting it isn't even technically the hard part. No, the hard part is staying alive. The cooldown is slow, and enemy bullets are not. There's a lot of potential cover here from the boss, but not so much from the mobs. And, well, the boss can just decide to hover in the wrong place if it really wants, so why not pull out a far more powerful strategy? One of the greatest in the series. A classic, really. Just get outside of the arena. But now I don't have line of sight, I hear you say. Ask Roland and Axton how they feel about that, as I throw my Peacebreakers forward and use them as a rocket turret. Perfectly safe, and very slowly chipping at the boss, but if I can't be hurt, then it's just a matter of time. And its time would indeed come crashing down. Just took a minute. Well, figuratively. Literally, it was definitely not that, but with an incredible use of an augment, we're moving on. After having a meeting with her, I immediately abandoned everything that was happening to beeline the Ripper Queen part of the story, not because it's the best, quite the contrary. First time through, I didn't realize I could do it before Sol's section, and in so many words, Sol's may be my favorite, but feels like it narratively should be before Vials, and that leaves the awkward stage of ripping and tearing until it is done. It's gotta go somewhere. Hi, Quent. I definitely didn't accidentally go to the wrong direction to come help you because the mapping in this game is a nightmare with the Echo 4 pointing me towards something unrelated. I'm so excited to hear about whether or not your friend is going to get a date through this whole portion. Gotta say, this pet setting doesn't make sense. Who put the levers up this high? Sophia has by far the best access to them. What are you doing? Bunch of enemies defending a catapult? Not a problem. Destroying said catapult? Also not a problem. Protecting the pasta? Just as much a problem as protecting the frame rate. Just didn't work out. Still though, not nearly as bad as this portion. My god, did this take a bit. I have to wait for nearly the whole cooldown every time I throw out just 2 fireballs. Just 2, which usually don't break things, may or may not even actually hit, then back to waiting. And that wasn't even nearly the worst part. No, this was far worse. The hitboxes on solid walls are wildly inaccurate, like just couldn't be much more wrong if they tried, and best case, you can maybe hear the hit marker sound through the sound of explosions, suggesting that you might maybe be dealing damage to the objective so you can move on. This sucked so badly. I am the architect of my own misery, and my god am I unparalleled in my construction. Obviously putting me far ahead of the locals. Honestly, this is some incredibly shoddy craftsmanship. Look at this place, it's a mess. Have higher standards for your state of living. They did have some better put together stuff, until it stopped me from progressing. That's generally not good for anyone or anything's continued existence. While murdering my way through their compound though, I dare say the NPCs definitely feel slower than last time. And then, Driller Hole. Dude has better target acquisition than I do to a ridiculous degree. Give him a punching bag and he'll give you a dead boss. Give him just a face to aim at though, and he'll give you so many homing shots the moment it's out and ready to shoot at. Had I no health regen, I genuinely don't know how I would handle this fight. Sort of just needed the tank fire to do anything back, or wait for him to use specific other moves like blowing up the whole arena to stand a chance. It felt so wrong wasting duration taking cover, but it was pretty necessary. Dude's also crazy good at trick shots, so even some out of bounds whatnot just doesn't even kind of work. This boss is an enigma, and also mercifully dead, as is Quent. Optional objectives and all. Also, if you thought the bridge breaking was bad, then trust me, this was worse. The parkour to even get up to these is already weird. The hitboxes are worse. Being able to tell if you're damaging them is worse. This was a thing that happened in Borderlands history. and nothing can change that. Can I just say though, aiming with these things is consistently one of the single hardest things to do in the entire run. Borderlands 4? Easy. Gearless? Easy. Action skill only? Easy. Put them together? Easy. Using basic features? Impossible. After checking what button summons my bike, I ran through one of the 2 mandatory parts of the game that I gotta use it. That was fast. Unlike travel, it is not that. Gotta say though, my guy, I don't want to be here either. Using the boost pads isn't even sort of on the list of acts I'd like to engage in, so by putting up a conflict of sorts, you're just making things even worse for the both of us, aren't you? I'd be more than happy to give it back if it could get us through the unpleasantries faster. Not a particularly amicable chap, but his blood would pave the way for drive number 2, the only ramp on through. One must imagine what quick transit feels like. Folks, I'd say I'll see you in hell, but frankly, you're not worth the visit. I hear the covens meeting there are to die for, and I'd hate to be late. Sir, you may think me weak, but there's a rule of thumb that goes quite simply as thus. Stand not in my way, ye who has a shootable face. A rookie mistake if I've ever seen one. Pushing forward through a tetanus nightmare that I would never want to visit, but I'm delighted to see, I would make my way toward the queen of the hour. And sure, the mobbing wasn't comfy, but do you think anything in this place is? Reaching her, if you'd believe it, she's not that bad. At first. She's aggressive, her hitboxes can be weird, but phase 2 is where the pain lies. And yeah, that's true of basically most fights in most games. Go figure, it gets harder rather than easier. But it's not more challenging because she is, but because I got a basically endless stream of snipers. As soon as my Peacebreakers went down, so too did I. Their ability to just 2-tap me at any range with pinpoint accuracy meant I couldn't live if they were in the arena, and they just didn't stop spawning. So I started the next day farming a lot of experience. Her fight is more or less just a matter of not letting her hit you, going back to, yeah, go figure, but her attacks are pretty easy to read. Don't stand where she's about to swing. Don't stand in the big glowy rings that indicate something's about to explode, and also apparently the enemy spawns just changed entirely because there were large sections of phase 2 that just didn't have mobs, meaning surviving was trivial. I really didn't need the levels. I'm not sure what changed to make the spawns less agonizing, but I'll take it. I don't understand this game. Why can't you look at each other to hold a conversation? What has technology wrought? I'm not even saying eye contact, just general directions. Now, me, I'm pretty easy to distract. Not nearly as driven or focused as I'd like to be, so if I'm out here doomed to struggle with my productivity, why should Sol's facility be left alone? I even got some help from a group of employees in destroying things. When in doubt, use the AI against itself. My rockets are really dumb when targeting and like shooting walls? Fine, they can target the ones I needed to anyway. Sometimes problem solving is learning to think of even your weaknesses as new tools in your kit. We've all been here though, right? Like, be it a bottle of sauce, pills, basically anything that has any kind of anti-tamper or freshness seal, you peel off half of it only to find that there's another layer underneath that just disconnected in the process and you're no closer to moving on with your day. Why does this haunt me even here? Even now? This is some absolute rubbish. I thought it was just a real-world problem. Now, the Bulkhead. More like the Bullhead, am I right? Because it's never mind. This thing is a nightmare. Once again, not even because it's bad. Exactly, at least. You can drop bombs at its feet, as is required. You don't need to throw them, but you do need to set them off at least near it to break its invulnerability. From there, you can dance around the arena, just chipping away slowly at its health. Not a major issue. Surviving it during my cooldown is fairly easy. Its moves are predictable enough that it's very manageable, so why did it take so long to kill it? Well, simple. Guns are far less survivable. Mobs spawn seemingly infinitely, often on opposite sides of the arena. There's basically no cover that can be relied upon with these facts in mind, so you've got about 40 seconds of just not being able to play. All the while, they can absolutely slaughter you, and you can maybe get lucky and make some good progress. You'll notice I made some phenomenal headway here, but it wasn't enough. It was just never enough. This fight was brutal exclusively because the mobs here hit really hard and often. Too bad for them though, they can't figure out how stairs work, so this was all I needed to be safe while waiting out the cooldown. I can survive the little dudes just fine as long as I have my Peacebreakers out, so the break was the only thing I needed to break this fight wide open. Easy as. You know, eventually. Man, screw your ladder. The general YouTube audience is never going to know just how much went into grinding out that win, how much I bang my head against these walls before finding these dumb strats. I could try to tell you, but I've wasted enough hours to know that there's a time to really stress the details, and there's a time to appreciate that it's doable, and I was being really dumb the whole time. Was. Like, I'm not currently and continuously. Anyway, here's Garvey, a totally random NPC doing something for me that Brick never did in the entirety of Borderlands 2. Don't even know you, Garvey, but you're a legend. Anyway, war crimes. I dare say, though, I think Rush is faking being injured here. He was fine until he was observed. It's fine, though. We've got place to be regardless of how real the injuries are. The destruction of the place? Better than you might think. But also, of course, worse than one would hope. And nobody of value was hurt. Today is at least an okay day. Oh, right. Never mind, today is a bad day. So frankly, if y'all could step out of the way while we bomb your base, I'm not saying you'd be bad people for stopping us, but the implication. And just to hedge our bets, in case we're dealing with monsters here, let's sabotage their mode of transit. They won't be needing it where they're not going. Me? I'll be going up an elevator, like a normal person. See, I learn. Unlike Sol here, just meandering about. Here, take this for the road. Once again, no grappling, no throwing, not necessary. Think they are? Get good. Think I'm winning this attempt? Get real. No, Sol has two attacks that pair particularly badly together. Not common, I saw it happen exactly, but when the only reliable way of dodging the big laser that I'm aware of is to strafe right through the big wall of damage, well, I'm not sure what you're supposed to do about it, but this fight was many things. Fast was none of them. The mobs here do a lot less damage than some others, but they're still kind of gnarly. I was bound to mess up, and frankly, I was poorly equipped for this. Something about not being equipped at all will do that to you. I do wish that was what claimed my failure, though. Made it pretty dang far brute forcing things. Now, I am many things. Observant is... Is it on the list? I didn't see it there. What were we talking about? My ability to starkly focus. Sure, but frankly, I think we should be talking about the boss instead. You do tend to get sidetracked otherwise. So anyway, rereading the shotgun side of Rafa's skill tree was, let's say, enlightening, and his flesh was what I'd call enlightening. Glowing, even. Had a lovely flare. Ignite even say he was kindle enough to go up in smoke to his smolder foe. Though it was done in a flash and blaze, I dare say, I burned a man alive via shotguns, and that is metal as hell. Also, hot dang, these things are good at close range. Observe, the torches of commemorating how rad those shotguns are. Nothing else. Definitely no rebellion-related things. It's the gun love, of course. That would at least have to be the story while we dealt with a guy that defends the idea of peace and order by way of violently and chaotically opposing anyone and everyone not strictly fitting into an incredibly narrow definition of value. Having countless troops defending his efforts to make their lives worse because he promises to make things better despite all evidence to the contrary as he furthers his own ambitions and all else be damned. It's a good thing art doesn't imitate life or vice versa. Can you imagine? Anyway, here's me absolutely butchering a Kratch. I mean, downright bullying. Like, my lifesteal isn't quite enough to stay up, but second wins aren't too hard. I genuinely don't know what specifically is triggering it, but the damage I can do was unreal. Got double fire flat cannons, and they're going crazy. Staying alive in this arena is an absolute nightmare, though, without being able to just kill the thing, so I'm not even kind of sorry. Get cheesed. A thing I cannot taste, and frankly, probably wouldn't enjoy. I've lived so long without it being on my flavor palette. What are the odds I like it now? And now, before the game came out, we knew we were going to be hunting down a famous Siren that had been in multiple Borderlands games. She was powerful, respected, loved, had red hair, and could teleport. I do think, though, the description is looking a little off. Did she dye it, or should I be even more worried about my failing vision? You know, maybe it's weird to say, but I miss the Guardians. Maybe it's because I've played one more recently, but the map feels like it calls for them. Yearns for their massive shields and no health. They're absolutely bloated experience values. Say what you want about that game. Those on-screen numbers were satisfying as hell. This one discovery and or consideration is going to continue to vex me, and I'm not even the right character for that anymore. I'm here to break some iridium crystals, and the parkour required is easy. Possibly deceptively so, even. Once you go through clearing out all the surrounding enemies, at least. Getting in a melee range with crystals is hardly even a consideration, but of course, when hitboxes are already borked, well, of course they're still borked. So that's nice for me. When all else fails, I figured I could get some tricky timing, but the joke's on me, because I have no idea what these guns think they're shooting at, but I can assure all involved it's not the intended target. Give it a few more updates and these won't even be hitting things in the same time zone. After undoing my work, respawning the enemies, and telling the AI, hey, look over there, rather convincingly, I managed to get the guns to accidentally function correctly. It's times like these that I'm reminded that by all technicality, this is my job and my life is strange. So I got a totally normal enemy immune to damage. The modifier deal with it certainly has an unconventional method of circumventing it. Not my favorite way to play, but if I had a nickel for every time I had to reset to get around these, because I genuinely have no idea what it's supposed to do, but this is rubbish. Followed by an enemy type that's periodically immune to basically everything unless you hit small specific hit zones. The short answer is I used missiles. The long answer is I used missiles because making random fights into Dexy was a bad idea and I'll die on that hill. Encouraging accuracy in a shooter makes sense. Mandating it? No. Granted, not sure what melee and whatnot looks like for it. Maybe it clears it without the need. I've only seen so much of the game as of yet. Ah, shoot. Destiny's here. Quick, everybody hide your... I don't know enough about the franchise. We're going with Arcanes for a game I strongly prefer. Incarnons, maybe. Oh, well. Engage the anti-air guns. Look at them go. I swear, the named enemies are often just here. Like, it's a vile enemy. The writing and whatnot portion of these runs gets demonstrably harder when I know I should have something to say, but I barely remember they're here. Unlike the leaders of arguably the most antagonistic faction. But I gotta ask, maybe I'm just not paying enough attention, but how much do these groups really do? Don't get me wrong, things like infrastructure and future development, betterment of humanity, these are important things that require getting as many people as you can involved, but I'm out here letting future Google do all the tyrant overthrowing at the moment, and that's not even working in the present. This seems ill thought out, and I would appreciate a few more hands lifting out here. All together, even. Speaking of letting the AI handle everything, like replacing genuine effort and talent with manufactured slop slapped together to reiterate rather than create, a monument to a moment we thought ourselves greater, reduced to repetition, wrapped in a new package, a lack age inbound, a future with nothing but familiar sounds. But if everything's chrome in the future and all that glitters is gold, then how can the flawless machinations stop to understand what it was once like to feel? When everything's so sanitized we don't recognize red when it's us that's bleeding dry. When nothing reaches deep enough to cry because authenticity is unsatisfactory. If being oneself is cringe, then I'd hate to infringe on a worldview so narrow that every color is put there by an arrow. Where one finds himself so afraid to paint outside of the lines, where I am a machine, maybe things would be different, but then who'd be there to have an existential crisis at the drop of a hat? I guess maybe give it a bit, and there'll be an app for that. You know, this isn't my first time blowing things up with a Bruce on the channel, but it is more or less comparable in terms of difficulty aiming. I do miss having my own seat, though. All this walking is exhausting. I am, though, here to blow things up, which just requires placing some in-world items to gently detonate, removing the roadblocks ahead, and I'm not sure what happened there. Luckily, they're fairly reliable when handheld. Lethal, but effective. The game, of course, boldly asks you to use the mechanic that's a reskin of the same mechanic used in 2 of the 3 main branches to take an orb to a shield that some may not reach. But Rafa is many things. Among them, speedy. I'm delighted to say there is not a single instance in all of Borderlands 4 where you have to throw even one object to complete every story objective under these circumstances. Nor do you need to grapple any throwable object. Rafa's just built different. Eat your heart out, David. But alright, sure. Rafa's spooky, powerful, reliable. He's made it this damn far into the game, and the run's still going gearless without too much fuss. Numbers in the description courtesy of StatCat Ivy to get a better idea as to some specifics, but well, we had a big one coming up. A big one named Elevator. Killed me instantly for goofing around. Not cool game. Legitimately more dangerous than some named enemies. But nah, of every boss fight, of every encounter in the game, basically nobody but me wonders about the dumb things like parkour or my little mini challenges that only maybe even kinda get mentioned in the final video. Like, seriously, the number of hours I've probably spent just walking places across these games to avoid cars. It gets a few mentions, but it's never the showcase. No, chat was interested in Vile Lictor. People coming in asking, how am I going to handle him? And truth be told, I really didn't understand the question, so almost every time I got it, I more or less had the same answer. I was going to shoot him. I'm still not really sure what they meant, but as you can hopefully see, or if your eyes are preoccupied or otherwise failing you, well, I shot him. Many, many times. Didn't have to pull the trigger once myself, just had to avoid his onslaught while my back guns took him even closer to the grave. Genuinely, this fight was pretty dang easy. A lot of fun in spite of that. I'm not sure what exactly it is, but the bullet hell bosses feel a lot better this time. Mostly, at least. Can't speak at all for side content yet, because I'll maybe get to that someday, but not yet. I'm not even sure when my first casual run of this game will be. Once again, maybe someday, right next to the Casual Wonderlands, or Cyberpunk, or Hollow Knight. Honestly, my backlog is terrifying. Hey dude, good to see you, but I need you to get out of my way as quickly as possible so I can dump more time into Warframe and wonder why my backlog only ever grows. Folks, I'm looking for transit, but if you're looking yourself, I can drop you off at destination dead along my journey. Always here to help a traveler with a one-way ticket, whether either of us want me to be or not. A shame that you can only mostly get up this building with some creative footwork. Ah well. Good news, bad news, we're on our way now to escaping the atmosphere. Don't worry about breathing, the enemies here are still suffocating anyway. But worse news, dude's back, and I don't care how many times you ask, I'm not interested in playing Destiny. You can't make me. Of all the things going on over on Elpis, though, these jumps here, these were probably the coolest thing I accomplished. Also, I saved some people working with me or something. Who cares? I managed some cool parkour. There was also like a boss or something. You may think that the harder version of a boss that gave me a lot of trouble with more mobs, removal of your ability to jump, and increased aggression would be a difficult thing to surmount. I'm inclined to disagree. I found that you can just sort of stand over here and Amara prevents you from taking any damage while waiting for your cooldowns. In so many words, I'm absolutely fine while my guns are up, so this wasn't even remotely hard. Like, hardly a footnote once I got a foothold. Lil, please, these modifiers. They're worse than the bosses, please. Alright, good talk. Well, I've got places to kill, paces to thrill is the obvious rhyme, but the pace here is a little slow. Like when I had to stop in for a totally normal doctor's visit where nothing at all went wrong and everyone was fine as a result. Don't question it nor look into it further. American healthcare is way more predatory anyway. Turns out, though, the game has something of a sense of humor. Frankly, rude. True, but rude. If we're being honest, though, we know that things went fine for a while. Things were okay. The mobbing can be rough, but at the end of the day, it's a thing. No, the real challenge came with this bastard. What is this damage? This is, frankly, just painful. I don't have words for this beyond why and the hell. But after, well, the big bad of the hour certainly has a health bar befitting such a title. This is far from the worst damage I've ever seen. Like, not even on the list for worst damage I've seen and used to do worse, but the problem ain't when I am, it's when I'm not hurting the guy. And also, second wins aren't exactly viable here. So, what if I lowered my damage, but also increased my uptime by a lot? Like a lot. So much so that barely, but genuinely, I managed to get his full first phase with one use of my action skill. It was shocking to see. It was corrosive to see. It was genuinely easy stuff. It's hard to complain when things just come together, but the build swap was super worth it. To make matters even better, the cutscene that plays between scenes gave me a full recharge of said action skills, so I was able to come out of the gate swinging during round 2. And for better or worse, we did grapple our way through things, but with how aggressive his final phase isn't, it was really just a matter of staying way away from him while peppering him with a grand total of 3 action skill uses across 2 phases. Bringing him to a close, then grappling some really easy lasering. Seriously, this boss is amazingly easy, and the game would follow suit. A world saved. A smaller scale and a tighter experience for it. I had a lot of fun with Rafa. He feels really good to use. I'm excited by the prospect of one day getting to play him with his melee kit, but I have no idea when that'd be. Can confirm the Peacebreakers are really strong. You don't even need stuff to make them sing. In general, good stuff. And similarly, I hope that you've enjoyed your time here. I'd like to thank my lovely channel members, as well as Twitch subscribers for your support. You probably know how to use social media, and I hope that means I'll get to hear your thoughts now, and on any future outings. Until then, remember to stay safe, spread some kindness in the world, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.